Scientists read the DNA of 348 ancient bodies to find out what color they used to be. Half of Europe still had dark skin in the Iron Age. The Great Pyramid is older than pale skin. Nobody tell the comment section. That study came out last year and quietly ruined 400 years of confident guesses. So the actual answer? Yes, the first humans were dark-skinned. Everybody's ancestors were. Hold my scroll, because the way some of them stopped is one of the dumbest stories in your own body. And there's one group of people who moved to the Arctic and never went pale at all. They break the entire rule, and I'll get to them. But first, we have to start further back than you think, before skin color was even a thing. Go and look at a chimp. Part the hair, the skin underneath is pale, pinkish even. Our ancestors were pale under a full body coat, and the coat did all the work. Fur is the sunscreen, the skin behind it didn't have to be anything. Then we took the coat off. Somewhere between 1 and 2 million years ago, our ancestors lost most of their body hair. This was not a style choice. It was cooling. A furry animal chasing something across an open plain overheats and quits. A naked, sweating animal doesn't. That's it. That's the human superpower. Not strength, not speeding, sweating. And it works better than it has any right to. In Wales, there's a 22-mile race where people run against horses. In 2004, a man named Hugh Law beat every horse in it by 1 minute and 53 seconds and walked off with 25,000 pounds. A guy, 1 foot, outlasting horses because he could sweat and they could not. And this is where the bill arrives. Somebody pays for that naked skin about 1 million years later in a town full of chimneys, because now you've got a bald ape standing in tropical sun with nothing on top of it. And the sun is not your friend. The sun isn't even neutral. UV light goes into your skin and shreds folate. That's a B vitamin your body needs to build babies properly. Sunburn is just a polite warning letter. Folate damage is the actual bill. So evolution handed us an umbrella, melanin, a dark pigment that sits in your skin and eats UV before it gets anywhere important. Permanent, built in, and you cannot fold it up. For about 1 million years, that's the whole setup. Dark skin, strong sun, everybody's fine. Then roughly 60,000 years ago, some of us walked north and kept walking. And the sun got worse. Not hotter, weaker. Here's the trap nobody sees coming. The same UV you've spent 1 million years blocking is the only way your body makes vitamin D. Your skin makes it. It's the one thing your skin actually builds. No UV, no vitamin D. No vitamin D, your bones don't set properly. I take a tablet for this, by the way, a small yellow one. Hold that thought because it gets humiliating later. So the umbrella that saved your ancestors in Kenya has become a problem in Denmark. You're standing in a weak northern light holding a parasol you can't put down and your skeleton is quietly going soft. Want to know what that looks like in real life? Britain wrote the manual on it. Alright, before we continue into this video any further, I just want to share this program that I started recently, and it really helped me relax and focus while I was working, and so I thought it might be something that you are interested in as well, and if you are, I'll leave the link in the description as well as the pinned comment and you can check it out. Let's get back to the video. By the 1800s, the factory cities were so packed with coal smoke that children in London, Manchester and Glasgow basically stopped seeing the sun. Their leg bones bent under their own weight. Their rib cages deformed. In one Victorian burial ground in Surrey, diggers found those marks in nearly 18% of the small kids they pulled out. The condition is called rickets. Doctors across Europe had a nickname for it. They called it the English disease. And a Polish doctor called Sniadecki worked out the fix in 1822. Sunlight. Put the children outside. That's the treatment. That's the whole thing. It took roughly another century for anyone to properly act on it. In the meantime, Britain built more chimneys, cause obviously. Now take that pressure and run for thousands of years instead of 1 century. Every generation, the slightly lighter kids in the north soak up slightly more UV, grow slightly better bones, and end up with slightly more surviving children. Nobody chooses anything, nobody even notices. The dial just creeps. I want to be clear about how boring this is. There's no moment. There's no first pale person. It's a gradient and it's moving so slowly that no human being alive at any point could have seen it happen. And it didn't happen once. It happened twice in 2 places and the 2 never spoke. Europe went pale using mainly 2 switches with names like Wi-Fi password SLC24A5 and SLC45A2. East Asia barely uses those at all. They lighten through a different set entirely, including one called OCA2. Same problem, same weak sun, two totally different answers. It's two people locked in separate rooms, both inventing the fork. Right. Timing. This is the part that upsets people, and I want you braced for it. Pale skin in Europe is not ancient. It's recent, embarrassingly recent actually. The main European lightning switch only started sweeping the continent somewhere in the last 11 to 19,000 years, and it stayed rare for ages after that. Otzi, the Iceman frozen in the Alps 5,300 years ago, carried 2 copies of it. He was an early adopter. He was walking around Europe with the umbrella already half folded. And then there's the man in the cave in Somerset. Cheddar Man, Britain's oldest near-complete skeleton, about 10,000 years old. In 2018, researchers pulled DNA out of his inner ear bone and predicted dark skin and blue eyes. They built a face. It went everywhere, and a lot of people lost their entire minds about it. Now, fair warning, because I'd rather you get this from me than from a reply guy in the comments. One of the scientists who built that model went on record and said they'd been way too sure. The blue eyes are solid. The exact shade of the skin is a best guess. Darker? Almost certainly. That precise brown? Less certain. Which is why the 2025 study is the one that really settles it. 348 ancient genomes, 45,000 years, a method built for badly damaged DNA, so it stops pretending to be sure when it isn't. And the picture it paints is slow, patchy, and late. Half of the people in it still had dark or in-between skin well into the Copper and Iron Ages. Pale Europe is roughly 3,000 years old, newer than anything, newer than writing, newer than the damn wheel. Which drags me to the stupidest fact in this entire video. The word Caucasian. Where do you think that came from? A German professor named Blumenbach in 1795. He had a collection of skulls. He looked along the shelf, picked out one belonging to a Georgian woman from near the Caucasus Mountains, decided it was the best looking one he owned, and named a whole chunk of humanity after it. Not a measurement, not a study, he thought it was pretty, cause obviously. That word is still printed on forms today. How dumb is that? So, here's what this actually means, and it's nothing like what people argue about online. Skin color is a sunlight setting. That's the whole thing. It tracks UV by latitude. It runs on a handful of genes, and those genes tell you nothing else about a person. Not one thing. So everyone was black, in the only sense that word could ever have meant anything, which is standing in strong sun and handling it fine. And then the sun got weaker, the bones got softer, the dial crept, and about 3,000 years ago we invented white, not the skin. We've had the skin for a while now. We invented the word. Nature didn't hand us that one. A guy did. He had a shelf. And if you want the proof that black and white are groups we invented, not found, Africa holds more genetic range and skin tone than the rest of the entire planet put together. Some pale versions are older than our species. In 2017, scientists sequenced 2,092 people across Africa and found the whole range sitting there in one place. Which finally brings me back to the people who broke the rule. The Inuit. They live further north than nearly anybody, in some of the weakest sunlight on Earth, and they never went pale, because they never needed to. Seal, whale, fish, organ, meat. Their old diet is loaded with vitamin D. They ate the problem. UV also bounces off snow and water up there, and they only arrived about 5,000 years ago, which for evolution is a long weekend. So it was never really about the sun, it was about vitamin D. Sunlight was the delivery van, and the Inuit got theirs by boat. Which brings me to the small yellow tablet. I take one every morning. It's a spill for the crime of working indoors. 40,000 years, a few continents, a lot of bent bones, and the fix turned out to be $2 at the chemist, cause obviously. So no, humanity didn't split into colors. It moved, and the sun charged different rent in different places. Everyone's ancestors were dark. Everyone's ancestors changed, and the umbrella is still there on every single person. Nobody can fold it. It's just set to different widths. You held my scroll for the entirety of a video about pigment chemistry, and I think that says something quite excellent about you. Drop a like if you're now looking at your own arm differently, and tell me in the comments which fact you flat out refuse to believe. I'm guessing the Iron Age one. Subscribe because next time we're doing how early humans actually looked like, not just the skin tone, but from the top all the way to the bottom, and that one is somehow worse than this one. I'll see you guys then. Until then, hold my scroll and give it a light tug as well. Before I go though, just a reminder, that program that I spoke of, it really did help me focus while working and especially relax after I'm done working. It's an audio program that you can listen to while working or working out or just staring at the wall. So it's pretty convenient. Link in the description, also in the pinned comment below. That's how you can support me without any extra cost to you. Thank you so much for watching this video.